In this segment, we'll talk about the various approaches you can take to helping students learn as a team. We'll introduce and define several terms that can help you label and understand the various activities that you can use with your students. These terms include cooperative learning, peer tutoring and teaching, peer collaboration, peer coaching, peer monitoring, peer observation, scripting and feedback, and peer assessment. As you review these methods, think about how you can encourage your students to independently come up with their own activities in each area. This way, they'll be more invested and accountable, and you'll be relieved of the burden of designing all those learning activities yourself. Now, we'll briefly introduce each of these peer learning approaches so that you can be better equipped to apply them in your own setting. In cooperative learning, students divide the tasks of a new or challenging activity and then work together toward a final goal. For example, to complete a patient encounter, one student might perform the history, then the other would perform the tests and measures. This allows each student to avoid cognitive overload by focusing on achieving competency in one portion of the task. They can then switch tasks on the next patient and gradually build their skills to complete an entire patient care session. Peer tutoring or teaching is helpful when one student is more experienced than the other. That student can guide the less experienced student in completing a task, but it also works well to have students of equal experience take turns teaching a skill or concept to each other. Peer collaboration refers to activities where both students use each other as resources to complete a common goal that's difficult for either one to do individually. For example, you might have your students brainstorm ideas for effective interventions for a particular patient case. Peer observation is an active listening approach where one student observes the other with the intent of providing meaningful feedback after the encounter. This requires the observer to take copious notes and hone their observation and assessment skills. Peer monitoring, on the other hand, is a more passive approach where the observer is not required to provide any post-encounter assessment or feedback. This is just a chance for the observer to absorb the experience and apply the performance to their own experiences. Peer coaching is a more complex interaction where both students observe each other and provide feedback and consultation to help each other improve their performance. It can also include proposing alternative solutions to enhance the team learning experience. Finally, peer assessment is a more formal approach to peer observation. In this approach, the observer uses a rubric or some other specific criteria to assess their partner's performance as objectively as possible. This gives the partner very specific feedback on their performance. As you learned about these various methods of peer learning, we hope you started getting some ideas of how you could incorporate some of them into your work with a student team. Take a moment to pause the video and look over the list one more time and decide how you'll apply one or two of these activities with your next student team. Thanks for listening. Here are the references that we used for this segment. In our next segment, we'll talk about how you can use checklists and other tools to guide the peer learning process.